It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, it's Wednesday, January 20th, 2021, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we'll get some coronavirus updates, current news from around the world, realizing from the Tuesday morning message, and of course we have some breaking news in Providence. All right, so how are you guys doing today? It is Wednesday, and I'll start with the breaking news because as you guys have heard, some of you may not have, Wednesdays, whenever Sunstein preaches on Sundays, Wednesdays will be done by head leader. So that is really, really exciting news, and that's something that I really look forward to. Not because I'm preaching, but it's definitely something that's necessary for all of our churches to have head leaders that can preach really well. So just thankful for all of you joining us here on the Morning Star Drive. Looking forward to a great service tonight from the head leaders. So let's start this day well with the show. Just want to remind everyone to keep liking and commenting. I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. Write your questions, requests, testimonies, and whatnot. I really want to hear what you guys are thinking. Yes, yesterday we had a great live show, our first live show on the SKY channel, formerly known as Espresso with Sky, and the show was called Lab 78. And the first show was called the 2021 Starter Pack. How do we start the year right? Making decisions. What's the first things that we need to do? So great show, done in a brand new way. First time I've ever had a co-host. So I found one of our members over here in Malaysia. She's really, really cool. Super talented, right? She has an Instagram. She's an Instagrammer. I think she has she got like 20,000 people on her Instagram. She's a singer, dancer, actor. She does everything. So really happy that she was able to help out and hoping to continue to make things done in a new way each and every week. All right. So this Sunday's edition, guys, remember I interviewed Jinlan Rowe from America. So make sure to catch that interview. She is a Face Star, second gen, like one of the first second gens. She's also an entrepreneur, has 3 businesses, 2 under her name. Amazing, right? So she's someone crazy, amazing, and awesome. But next Sunday edition, we will be meeting a member from Korea. Now, we're not meeting someone who's living in Korea, someone who's actually a Korean. Okay? So there's no translation because who we're going to meet, this person actually learned English. She went to high school in America. So that's why her English is so good. But either way, some of you might already know her. So look forward to another inspiring interview. And of course, we had the Bible study Parable of Clouds done on Monday, and that lecture is now posted on Patreon, so hope you guys will enjoy that too. All right, so let's get into today's featured artist of the day on this awesome Wednesday. The featured artist of the day is none other than our best and only, I think, post-rock artist in Providence history, and it is Zeniac from the Paper Music Associates in Korea. And we're going to listen to her most popular song. It's called Star Launcher. Then right after that, we'll go straight to Francis Han in New York. And we're going to listen to Before Dawn, which is a jazz piece. And then we're going to end things off with Mariah Henry, hip-hop artist over there in America. That song is called Lost Ones. So more than anything else, guys, just make sure that we really, really support our member artists, especially through our prayers.
Should be unknown omega star appeared along the axis of space and time. Welcome back and stay for a new language of eternity. A golden mega structure built. You put all the worlds, let there be light. In a moment of a celestial miracle, stars were fired from the temple you missed for so long. Collisions occur greatly from now on. Get ready for a rendezvous. I see the blue shifted light from you in a moment of a celestial miracle. Do you recognize me? You've waited for me. I'm right here. I remember you calling my name. Don't wait for me to say nice to see again. The day has come at last. It is not a dream. A decade could never
lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. We stay looking for someone to hold when the right one's standing at your door. Open up your heart and say, I'll believe in what you say, and I promise you will gain much more. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. 10 years of struggle, 10 years of pain, but I'll finally get to see you no more. Just calling your name. The ones who wonder who, just open up your eyes. He's waiting for you too. He's not a man in disguise. And the hardest cross to bear, but your heart's not what I'll wear. To think this effort and this love could overcome the dirty stairs. And it's all because of you. Yeah, it's all because of you. Said it's all because of you. Yeah, I need you. Looking for someone to hold when the right one's standing at your door. Open up your heart and say, I believe in what you say, and I promise you will gain much more. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one.
And that was Mariah Henry from America, and that song is Lost Ones. Before that, Francis Han in New York with the nice jazz piece Before Dawn. And of course, we relaxed to the post-rock artist Zeniac from the Paper Music Associates in Korea, and that song was Star Launcher. All right, guys, so let's get into some of the news going around the world. We'll start with the coronavirus update for today. In the world, there are 96 million cases with 2 million deaths at 2.13%. So we are getting closer and closer to the 100 million infections mark. Let's go by top 6 countries. The US, 24.6 million cases, 408,000 deaths at 1.66%. Brazil, 8.5 million cases, 210,000 deaths at 2.47%. Russia, 3.5 million cases, 66,000 deaths at 1.84%. The UK, 3.4 million cases, 89,000 deaths at 2.62%. Spain with 2.3 million cases, 53,000 deaths at 2.3%. And Colombia jumps in with Spain, right? 1.9 million cases, 49,000 deaths at 2.55%. Sweden remains at 1.97%, and Belgium also remaining steady at 3.01%. Daily infection rates. U.S. Always, well, they've been on top for months and months now. 142,000 cases in a day, which is very low from what they were even last week at like 250,000. So 142,000 cases in a day, which is a good sign. The UK, 37,000 cases. Spain, 33,000 cases in a day. Brazil with 24,000 cases, Russia with 22,000 cases in a day, and then Colombia rounds up the top 6 with 14,000 cases in a single day. Over here in Southeast Asia, Indonesia has 9,000 cases in a day, which is a significant drop, which is great news. And then Malaysia remains at 3,300 cases, and the Philippines with 2,100 cases in a single day. So that will move us into some of the current news going on around the world. First, we're going to go into Tunisia. All right. So what is happening in Tunisia? And my first question to you guys would be, where is Tunisia? Does everyone know? Right? It's actually in Africa, right? Tunisia is in northern Africa because a lot of people forget that even Egypt and Morocco are in Africa, but those are all African countries in the northern parts, right? And Tunisia, there's protests with hundreds arrested as clashes continue. So police in Tunisia say they've arrested more than 600 people as it's the fourth night in a row of violent protests, right? And they returned to the streets. And on Monday, crowds of mainly young demonstrators gathered in the center of the capital, Tunisia, throwing stones, petrol bombs at the police. And of course, the security forces responded with tear gas and water cannons. And right now, Tunisia is facing severe economic problems, and a third of its young people are unemployed. So the economic crisis has worsened under the pandemic, and the latest unrest comes almost exactly 10 years since the Tunisian revolution ushered in democracy and triggered the Arab Spring revolts across the nation. However, hopes that this would bring more jobs and opportunities have been disappointing. Outside the capital, clashes were reported on Monday in the cities of Kasserine, Gafsa, Sousse, and Monastir. The clashes took place mainly in densely populated and underprivileged areas where the relationship between young people and the police is historically tense. Social tensions have worsened under sporadic lockdown measures and a nightly curfew in place since October to combat the spread of the coronavirus. Earlier on Monday, demonstrators gathered outside the government offices in the capital city, calling for those that were arrested in the recent days to be released, and they chanted basically "No fear, no fear. The street belongs to the people." So that's what's happening over there in northern Africa, Tunisia. There's protests, over 600 arrested so far. Then we're going to get into some coronavirus news. Let's take a look at some vaccine news. And the first one is actually coming from the WHO, the person who's in charge. What's his name? The head of the WHO, the World Health Organization, Tedros, right? Tedros, I'm not going to say his last name. I completely forgot how to say it, but it's too many letters, right? So it's the head of the WHO, Tedros, basically says that the world is facing a catastrophic moral failure. Right? And the reason he's saying this is because of the unequal COVID vaccine policies, right? So it's kind of not very fair. He's saying it's not fair because the healthy people in richer nations get injections before vulnerable people in poorer nations, right? So he said that over 39 million vaccine doses have been given in 49 richer states, but only there's one poor nation that only had 25 doses, which is pretty crazy, right? And meanwhile, both the WHO and China were criticized for their COVID response. And then an independent panel commissioned by the WHO said the UN public health bodies should have declared an international emergency earlier, and also rapped China for not taking public health measures sooner. And so far, China, India, Russia, the UK, and the US have all developed COVID vaccines, with others being made by multinational teams, like the American-German Pfizer vaccine. So almost all these nations have prioritized distribution to their own populations. So what did the head of the WHO actually say? And he says that he spoke to the executive board session on Monday, and he said that, I need to be blunt. The world is on the brink of a catastrophic moral failure, and the price of this failure will be paid with lives and livelihoods in the world's poorest countries. So Dr. Tedros said, this me-first approach would be self-defeating because it would push up prices and encourage hoarding. So ultimately, these actions will only prolong the pandemic. The restrictions need to contain it and human and economic suffering. So the WHO head called for a full commitment to the global vaccine sharing scheme, COVAX, right, which is due to start rolling out next month. And the challenge that Dr. Tedros gave to all member states is to ensure that by the time World Health Day, which is April 7th, that the corona vaccines are being administered in every country as a symbol of hope for overcoming both the pandemic and the inequalities that lie at the root of so many global health challenges. Now, so far, more than 180 countries have signed up to the COVAX initiative, which is supported by the WHO and a group of international vaccine advocacy groups. Its aim is to unite countries into one bloc so that they have more power to negotiate with drug companies. So 92 countries, all of them low or middle income, will have their vaccines paid for by a fund sponsored by donors. Okay, so already they've secured 2 billion doses from 5 producers with options of more than 1 billion more doses, and they aim to start deliveries in February, and this is what Dr. Tedros said. Okay, so also the last news I want to give today is also going to be about the coronavirus, but it's about the coronavirus variants, the new strains that are coming out, right? And there are 3 areas where there are new variants, okay? It's the UK, we talked about already, South Africa, and Brazil. Okay, so the question is, how worrying are these new variants? So the new variants of coronavirus are emerging that are more infectious than the original one that started the pandemic, and scientists are urgently studying these mutated versions to understand what threat they pose. So what are these new variants? Well, experts' concerns currently focus on a small number of new variants of coronavirus. A UK variant that has become dominant in much of Britain has spread to more than 50 other countries. Also, a South African variant has also been found in at least 20 other countries, including the UK. And then there's 2 variants from Brazil, and it's not unexpected that new variants have developed. All viruses mutate as they make new copies of themselves to spread and thrive. So there are many thousands of different versions or variants of the coronavirus circulating right now. And most of these differences are inconsequential. So a few can be harmful to the virus's survival, but some can make it more infectious or more threatening. So how serious are these new variants? Well, it's suspected that the UK, South Africa, and Brazil variants could be much more contagious or easy to catch than the earlier versions. Okay, so all 3 have undergone changes to their spike protein. This is the part of the virus which attaches to human cells. And as a result, these variants seem to be better at infecting cells and spreading. So experts think that the UK, or they call it the Kent strain, emerged in September and may be up to 70% more transmissible or infectious. Although latest research by Public Health England puts it between 30 to 50%. And it is this variant which has driven the latest lockdowns around the UK. The South African variant emerged in October, and it has more potentially important changes in the spike protein than the UK variant. And it has one of the same mutations as the UK one, plus 2 more that scientists think may interfere more with vaccine effectiveness. And one of these may help the virus evade parts of the immune system called antibodies. The UK has imposed a ban on direct flights from South Africa and restrictions on flights to the country. And anyone who has traveled there recently and anyone who's been in contact with anyone from South Africa are being told to quarantine immediately. So the Brazil variant emerged in July and has 3 key mutations in the spike protein that make it similar to the South Africa one. And the UK government has announced a ban on flights from South America and Portugal as a result of this development. Now, with these new variants, will the vaccines work? Or do they still work on them? Now, the current vaccines were designed around earlier variants, but scientists are confident that they should still work against the new ones, although perhaps not quite as well. So lab studies are underway to check this, and vaccines, because vaccines train the body to attack several parts of the virus. However, not just these sections of the spike protein, right? So variants could emerge in the future that are more different again. So even in the worst case scenario, the vaccines could be redesigned and tweaked to be a better match in a matter of weeks or months if necessary, say experts. So with flu vaccines, where a new shot is given each year to account for any changes in circulating flu viruses, something similar could happen for coronavirus. Now, are they more dangerous? There is currently 0 evidence to suggest that any of them cause more serious illness. They might be easier to catch, but not causing more illness or death. So measures such as washing your hands, keeping your distance from other people, and wearing a face covering will still help prevent infections. And because the new variant spreads more easily, it is important to be extra vigilant. So what is being done about it right now? Well, more variants will emerge in the future too. So scientists around the world are on the lookout, and any new variants will be closely studied and monitored. And researchers at the Kenya Medical Research Institute say they are analyzing a new variant that is different to the UK and South Africa strains, for example. So the UK's vaccine development minister says measures have already been put in place to produce another wave of vaccines if needed. Right, so this is kind of another thing that's going on around the world, and I hope that it's something that we have to continue to pray for, but we do know that through giving glory, through having that heart to give more and more glory to the Holy Trinity, that we can see miracles happening this year more than anything else. Okay, so that is the current news for today. So let's get into a time of praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. It's going to be a great time right now. So what are we going to do? What are we going to sing today? We're going to get ourselves moving and going with Let's Go, The Time Has Come. Clap, clap, clap as one. And of course, we'll break things down with a sacrifice like no other. So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let us give worship. Let us give glory to the Holy Trinity.
Come on, time to go now. Heaven's time has arrived now.
in my bones. In all I do, everywhere that I may go, I take action. With the thoughts that come at each time, faster than light, I get it done. I always gain what I should gain.
He has prayed for me, my beloved Lord. Prayed with all his heart, more than I ever have. With a sacrifice like no other and the greatest love. He gave everything for my spirit's rapture. From now on, I won't give up. By his sacrifice, I'll push onward and go heaven bound. Throughout my life, I'll hold his hand, and faithfully I will love my Lord. With a sacrifice beyond compare, and with your greatest love, once more I came back to life. Oh, I love you, Lord, I love you, my bridegroom, my Lord. Now I will live with you eternally. I will wash myself clean of all my sins and dress myself in clothes of a bride. I will not be weak, I won't waver, no, not anymore. It won't be in vain, all that you've laid down for us. From now on, I'll live for you. I'll pray earnestly, and I will repay that amazing grace. I'll make your word part of my life, and I will rapture to the greatest heights. With a sacrifice beyond compare, and with your greatest love, once more I came back to life. Oh, I love you, Lord, I love you, my bridegroom, my Lord. Now I will live with you eternally. When I just felt like giving up, all alone I couldn't hang on. You are my Lord, you've always prayed for me. Dreams of rapture were once so faint, just like a mist, but through you it became so real to me. I thank you, Lord. Is there a greater love than this? Could greater love exist? This love, as precious as life. Though I've realized it much too late, I will fulfill your will with love and love alone. Is there a greater love than this? Could greater love exist? This love, as precious as life. Though I've realized it much too late, I will fulfill your will with love and love alone. A rapture to you.
And that was A Sacrifice Like No Other. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Just singing and praising that song, Sacrifice Like No Other. Before that, Clap, Clap, Clap is one. And Let's Go, The Time Has Come. All right, guys. So now that we finished the time of praise and worship, it is time to go a little bit deeper spiritually into the Tuesday message. So what is happening here for the Tuesday message? What are the things that are going on right now? Well, Tuesday message, very deep message, and I know that many people have been receiving a lot from it. I know it's a little bit difficult too because of pre-dawn time, some people might not be as focused. So I hope that all of us can really be able to kind of go over these messages and kind of get it in our hearts and our minds just to see, oh, this is what's going on right now. Or these are some of the things that I've missed. And I think a word study is something very important that all of us should do each and every day. All right, so because this week's message is about time and duration, of course, Sun seems the master of like teaching about time. This whole thing was about time. And it went into the time, times, and half a time lecture too, so that was kind of cool. And I like the beginning point, especially when it talks about the concept of time between God and people. And of course, he brings up the verse about, to God is a day is like 1,000 years, 1,000 is like a day. And the concept of time is so different from people and human beings, people and God. Okay, so for us, for some reason, it's like, wow, time is so long, but then to God, it's so short. And then the thing that was like really interesting is when the point came up is people need lots of time to be saved. And I really, really like that point. And I'll tell you why I like that point is because a lot of times in our minds, we get into that thinking, like that fast food thinking, like we buy it and we take it, we eat it, and we're done. And, it's kind of like how people think about happiness and love. It's like this one-shot thing. I've got love now, so I don't have to try anymore. And I like the concept of salvation takes time. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to save a person. And when I look at myself, of course, I studied the word for about 8 months before I actually realized this history. And I went through the entire lesson twice, 2 times. But even before that, you can look, it's like, wow, wait a second, I was 19 at that time. That's crazy. And that means, and I was I was in the form of faith, and I was, I prayed, I wanted to be a pastor, all these other different things that were in my head. And I realized, wow, it wasn't the 8 months that it took just to get me to realize, but there was 19 years even before that. And I first really accepted Jesus when I was 10, right? So even after that, it took another 9 years for me to start thinking more deeply about it. Then it took me 8 months to realize the word. And then it took me another 3 years just to realize deeply in my heart, oh, this is the Lord. There's the head realization and the heart realization. The head realization is the easy one because I'm very logical and scientific. It's just 1 + 1 = 2. Oh, okay, done. I got it. However, after that, the head knowledge only lasts for so long because that's just knowledge. Then it's experience, realizing more deeply, deeply in your heart. And that took another 2 years, I think, for that. And of course, different faults about myself, things that bring me down, things if I don't fix it'll drag me out of this history. I even look at the last 22 years I've been in this history, and 22 years, there were so many critical points. You know what I mean? Don't we all have those critical points in our timeline of when we're in this history? And I wouldn't say it was do or die, oh, if I didn't do this, I would have left. But I would have to say that there might have been 2 points, maybe 1 or 2 points in this 22 years. It was a very, very difficult choice. And it was man, if I knew in my head that if I do this, I'm gone. I can't do it. And you had to make a choice there on the spot, or you realize those weaknesses that will destroy you. It really will. Destroy meaning lose salvation. And I thought to myself yeah, we do need a lot of time to be saved, even though in God's eyes it's very short because he's eternal. But for us, yeah, it does take a long time from the human perspective. And I like it because it makes us think long-term with people. Like there's no such thing as you don't get it yet. Like you still don't get it. Like you don't know the Holy Son. Like what's going on there? You don't know. Oh my gosh! Like you still don't get it. And we get frustrated with each other. Like why don't you understand? Why don't you realize? Oh, this person's got to pray more. This person's got to study the Word more. And the answer is no. Everyone's different. And everyone takes different times. But in the end, people need lots of time to be saved. We do. There's no other way around it. We need lots of time to be saved. And there's the difference of physical and when you just thinking about this physically and spiritually, it's so different. But that was probably the major point that hit me the most. Like it's kind of what you call perception shifting, right? Oh, what's that word? The paradigm shift. That's it. The paradigm shift, where you're always thinking from one perception, one perspective, and then someone says something like, ooh, I never thought about it that way. And that's something that I really thought, oh, okay, that makes more sense to me then. It really does. So for me, I was like, okay. Yeah, people do need a lot of time to be saved. And just I look at myself too. There's times I thought was strong, and then you realize later, ooh, I wasn't as strong as I thought. And then sometimes you're really strong in one area, but that's not the area that kills you. It's the weaker area that's going to kill you. And you're like, oh my gosh, I really got to fix this. I shouldn't have just worked only on my strength. Right? So I hope that, that was the biggest thing I took out of it. And I'm sure everyone has something else, something big that they took out of it too. But I hope it's something that will be like, oh yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. Right? So, that was the biggest one for sure. And I like the answer for the biggest difference between the physical and spiritual world, and it's basically limitations, right? And limitations basically come because of time. We have a limitation of how much we live, limitation of how much we can lift, limitation of strength or speed or whatever it is, right? The biggest thing that differs between the physical and spiritual world is there's endings. Physical world has an ending. And this is why we have to really, really do everything that we can. I think one thing that our brains might be tricked into is that since we know we're going to live forever, that even if we die, we don't really die, that, we got lots of time, don't worry about it. And it's like a procrastination type of thought, where when you realize, but the big thing is, it's like when you're born, you can't go back into your mom's stomach to grow an arm again because you decide not to while you're in the stomach. Like that, once that time is over, once that duration's over, it's done. Like you can't do anything else about it. And that's kind of death. Death is you reach the next stage, and whatever you got with you, that's all you get. Whatever you fixed, that's what you get. Whatever you haven't fixed, that's tough luck. You got to deal with it. That's like Matthew 18:18, right? Whatever you bind on earth, you bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth, you loose in heaven. That's kind of the concept. The concept is, hey, yes, you live forever, but this stage on the earth is very limited, and whatever you do here, you're done. Once you're done here, you're done. It really is. And it really makes me think a lot, and it made me think a little bit more differently about money, to be honest. Like, you want to be comfortable, you want all these different things, which I'm not saying it's wrong. And I'm not gonna say I don't want those things, because I do. However, about giving money or giving away or doing things with that for the good, I was like, ooh. Because, like, one thing I thought to myself is my parents, or not my parents, my uncle, my great uncle, or I don't know what you call it, the uncle who's the eldest uncle on my mom's side of the family, he owns so much land in Korea, in his hometown called Gongju. So much land. And in the very end, that those pieces of land are going to be split amongst all of our families, the 4 families. So I'm just like going, and I thought to myself, I should give this land to build a church there in that city. And I was like, oh yeah, I should build a church in that city, right? But then, then of course the selfish side comes in like, oh, come on, man, then how are you going to live? But don't you want to make some money off it? Don't you want this? And I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, I do want to make some money so I can live without having to work or whatever it is, right? Like if I just had a nice apartment there that I can always go to with a car or whatever, I'm just like, gosh, how important is that really? Like in the end, I'm not going to even keep that. No matter whatever I build or whatever I make, I'm going to have to give it away anyways. But if it's a church, the church remains forever, right? It just stays. The church stays. I was like, yeah. I got to change the way that I think. Because of these limitations, I can't do anything with it. All I can do is leave a legacy behind. But what legacy is like, I have an apartment and I'll give it to the next person. Like, that's not a legacy. But if you build a church, like just when Sansin was saying, was that on Sunday when he said, yeah, I had a TV, which was more expensive than my house, and I sold it and I built a church, and it's still there today. I'm just like, was kind of leaving something behind for this world, and I hope that's something that, I don't want to baby out at that time. That if I ever get a chance, just to say, hey, this is the land, build a church. I'm totally down with it. I really want a church to be built here. Yeah. So yeah, that was something I was like really made me contemplate a lot about. Our last one is when he talked about memorizing the Bible, like you should memorize the Bible. And this is something that I am a huge advocate of. Whenever I do lecture training, I make sure by the end of lecture training, you have like 100 verses in your head. Like you have to memorize them to teach the word. Like those of you guys who didn't listen to the Parable of Clouds, you guys know the Parable of Clouds lecture I did on Monday. I just posted it on Patreon, but if you haven't heard, I probably used, I'm not sure who was there, but I'll have to ask Aaron, who's in Japan right now, but he's the one that always posts up all the verses, but I don't give the verses ahead of time because I don't know which ones I'm going to use. But I probably used, I would say 20 to 30, I think at least 20 to 30. Like he was busy. I don't think he could write notes because he was just constantly looking and posting up these Bible verses. But I don't use notes. I don't even use the Bible. I only read, like I'll read from memory, or I'll read from like whatever he posts on there. But I'll just do the entire Clouds lecture, knowing the verses through my mind. And I like how Sunstein put it. He's like, then you can preach the word, right? Anytime, right? Anytime the word just comes to him, it comes to comes to him. He knows exactly when God brings the word, it just comes out, right? And I think this is a really, really valuable thing that we need to do. And I really hope it's something that all of us can get our hearts and our minds wrapped around. This is really, really important. I really believe it's an important thing for all of us to think about. And it's something that we should be training ourselves to do. Even in my my Patreon lecture training, I put up tests, I post tests and quizzes for people so that they can sharpen their minds with memorizing, and not just memorizing, because memorizing is just like memorizing 1 + 1 = 2, but then I have to memorize 1 + 2, 1 + 3, 1 + 4, 1 + 5, right? Which means it involves no understanding. But when you have understanding, is when I understand the concept of 1 + 1, then it's very easy for me to do the math of 1 + 5, 1 + 10. I don't have to memorize anything, right? Just need to understand the concept. So we need to understand the concepts of the Bible verses we're reading, how they could be used in multiple different ways, not just in the Bible studies that we teach, but the Bible's so deep, guys. So I really hope that is something that a lot of us will get ourselves, our hearts and our minds into, is to really, really start understanding the word in a much, much more deeper way. And we can really be able to pull out the words of God at any time, at any moment. Okay? All right. So that is the word study for today. That was from the Tuesday morning message. If you guys have any more insights, go ahead, write it in the comments. Love to hear what you guys are thinking about that too. And that brings us into a time of the song of choice for today. Right, what's the song of choice? I'm going to go all the way back to Canada, because I know yesterday Renee from Taiwan, she sang the song from Avril Lavigne, which she's Canadian, and I wanted to basically, hear another Canadian singer, and I'm going to go back to one of these awesome crooners. It is Michael Bublé. And he's from the same hometown as me. He's from Burnaby, BC. That's exactly where I'm from. I think he's about 3-4 years older than me. 3 years older than me. So he's in my generation. So it's very interesting that he was actually in one of my rival schools. Canadian singer, songwriter, record producer, super famous right now. And this is a song called It's a Beautiful Day. And yes, it is, because we are doing things together here in this history, together with the Lord. So here's Michael Bublé with It's a Beautiful Day.
I don't know why you think that you could help me when you couldn't get by yourself. And I don't know who would ever wanna tell the seam of someone's dream. Baby, it's fine. You said that we should just be friends while I came up with that line. And I'm sure that it's for the best. If you ever change your mind, don't hold your breath. Look, you may not believe that, baby, I'm relieved when you said goodbye. My whole world shined. Hey, 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 it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. It's my turn to fly, so girls get in line, cause I'm easy, no playing this guy like a fool. Cause now I'm alright. You might have had me caged before, but not tonight. And you may not believe that, baby, I'm relieved. This fire inside, it burns too bright. I don't wanna stay so long, I just wanna say goodbye. It's a beautiful day, and I can't stop myself from smiling. If I drink and then I'm buying, and I know there's no denying that it's a beautiful day. The sun is up and the music's playing, and even if it started raining, you won't hear this boy complaining. Cause I'm glad that you're the one who got away. Cause if you ever think I'll take up my time with thinking of our breakup, then you've got another thing coming your way. Cause it's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Oh baby, any day that you're gone away, it's a beautiful day.
And that was Michael Bublé from Canada, from Vancouver, BC, from my hometown. Those of you guys don't know, this guy, he loves hockey because he's Canadian, and he wanted to be a professional hockey player. And if he was good enough, he would rather be that than a singer, but thank God he's not a good hockey player because he's a great singer. So that was Michael Bublé with It's a Beautiful Day. Very positive song. I hope that you guys really enjoyed that, which leads us into the last section for today. What is today's last section? This is going to kind of be some of my thoughts for this midweek here in this Wednesday. Where this is the first week after the 15 days of giving glory. And one thing I do feel at this moment, even listening to the Tuesday morning message, the one thing I didn't talk about, he's basically doing like the recap of the times and a half lesson and how time is important. That, you know, he basically went into straight up like Bible lecture. He started off with times and a half, 3.5 days for Jesus, died and resurrected. Then the 3.5, that's miniaturized. Then it goes to the 3.5 years. Then 3.5 years is 1,260 days. 1,260 days turned 1,260 years because he brought up Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 4 through 6 about Ezekiel lying on his side for 390 days. And then the next time he did it for 40 days, right? For he like paying the price on his left and his right side. And then he talked about how 1 day equals to 1 year. And then after the abomination caused desolation, which is in 688, I believe, right? 688, 1,260 years later, what happens is the emancipation, or what you call the independence of Israel in 1948. And, you know, that was one of those like mind-blown lessons, right? And then he goes back into time and he says, just like Malachi was the last prophet of the Old Testament time, 400 years after was Jesus. Same thing with Luther. He died in the 16th century. And 1546, and then 400 years later, 1945, that's when Sun was born. It was just straight, it was like a master class of times and a half. If you have trouble teaching that lesson, like that was something you should listen to. Straight up, just time. Look at this time. Look what the time says here. Go read down chapter 12. And it's kind of the basics of everything that we have. It is the basics. It is the basics of where our realization comes from. And a lot of people, I'm not going to say it's sad to say, but it's just we're not really compelled to because we've already realized and learned it. And like, oh, I think I know this already. But we have to understand clearly in our hearts how important those lessons, the Bible study we learn. But a lot of times, like even Sansim said, the very first time you listen to the Bible study, you can only retain 10%, which means that if you only retain 10%, he's basically Sansim saying you only remember the feeling. That's what you remember, the feeling that you had, like, but no one really remembers the details, and that's why you get to listen to it over and over and over again. If anything, I'm not going to tell you guys to do lecture training, but it's good to sit in the lessons, go over it again, understand it deeply again, get those like things quick into your head, like, oh yeah, I remember that point. Understanding which verses are important. That you're looking at, there's probably at least a good, I would say myself, key verses are 5 to 10 per lesson. And if there's like, we're not even doing 30, we're basically doing around 20. 20 times 5 is what? It's about 100, right? It's about 100 verses that you gotta, I'm not saying memorize them, but keep them in your heart mind. Like, oh yeah, that's the verse that explains this. That's the verse that explains, oh, that's the verse that explains this too. And, you know, I would tell you, the reason why I tell you guys to do lecture training, because lecture training is the best way to memorize. And the reason I say this is, studies show that if you just listen to something, like just listening, you'll retain about 10% of the knowledge, just listening. If you listen and write down and listen at the same time, then you'll retain 35%. But the craziest one is if you listen, write it down, and then right after teach someone else or tell someone else about it, then it jumps to like 85%. And this is why it's very, very important for us. When I say lecture training, the good part is you're listening, you're writing, and then on top of it, you know, you're making a lecture and then you're teaching someone else it, right? So when you're teaching someone else how to do it, or what this key point is, it's not even giving a lecture, just teaching the key points, you are going to remember even better than you did before, right? And this is why I really, really hope that all of us here will get ourselves to understand in a much deeper way, help us to just realize, oh, this is what it's talking about. This is what it's talking about, right? So I really implore everyone to sit in lessons, and that's just to listen. But if you really, really want to get to know them well, and I'm not telling you to become lecturers, I'm just telling you to do lecture training because it'll help you memorize better. I'm not even telling you to go out and lecture. Just do lecture training where you're practicing and you're trying to teach other people this. It's amazing, guys. It's the best way to do it. Okay? So I really hope that everyone becomes like masters, not of lecturing, masters of understanding and knowing the lessons that we have as the bare basics, because all throughout the Sunday message, Tuesday, Wednesday messages, Fridays, every other message, all of those principles and these key things that we're learning, they're all intertwined in them. And if you don't understand the word very well, the Bible studies, you're gonna have a very hard time also wondering, oh, and you're gonna ask these questions that make no sense to people who know, like, oh, really? You're asking that question? And it's not putting people down. It's more of, they should know. Right? And we have to put the effort in to understand the words really, really well, more than anything else. So I hope that all of us here too will become those types of experts. Experts meaning understanding the word deeply and really well. And I that's one thing I just want everyone to do well. Go, like I said before, go to your church leaders and do lecture training. If you don't have a church because you're in the pioneering stage, you can sign up for my Patreon. You can sign. I'm sure also there's tons of people that are doing online. I don't think I'm the only one, because I'm doing online lectures right now every Mondays, and I'm posting them on Patreon too. But you get to re-listen to the word, get to hear it in a different way also. So I really hope that all of you guys too can really be able to get those words just ingrained, like how the Old Testament puts it is you need to inscribe the words on your foreheads, on your hands, or as they say, inscribe it on the tablet of your heart, right? And that's something that I hope that all of us can do really well. And I tell you this, guys, once you get that down, all the words start making sense even more. Sunday message, Wednesday message, all the morning messages, like, oh, okay, I get that point. Oh, I understand, right? That even for me, I'm looking at this morning's times and a half, like, ooh, that's good. That's a great refresher, and that's something that I really needed, right? So yeah, and times and a half, we don't hear very often, right? We don't hear often because not many people make it to that level. So it's good that we're able to hear that once again, all right? So what does that mean, guys? It means that we've come to the very end of today's program. Hope you guys are going to have an amazing Wednesday. What does that mean? Not only just an amazing Wednesday, listening to the words that are delivered where God speaks through your head leaders tonight. I hope that you guys have an amazing day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like